look, today's world in financial services because of technology is pretty dang amazing. And what I want to hear from you is back in the days, right? Because you got in what year was it?
I signed my IBA in 1982, got licensed in January of 83. So
that's fantastic. So what I want to know from you is was it harder back then, or is it harder now to build a business in financial services?
I would say it's the same, because back then it was just a different world. Kind of anything could go. Nobody would tell you, the truth, and it was just it's not too much different today, And so back then everything was slow and paper and that kind of thing. I mean, here's the way the system worked. You get a paper app, you do a paper app, you mail it in, something's wrong with it, okay, because you can't just mail in the app. You had to mail in the replacement forms, and the replacement forms had to be filled out right, otherwise they'd kick it back. So 6 weeks later you'd get a snail mail package back, then it wasn't processed, so then you'd mail it again, and so everything was slow. And so then after all that, finally you'd get paid, so and so today it's like, are you kidding me? You just pop on your phone and off you go. So it's like quite a bit different, faster now with technology, but still the world in terms of getting somebody to actually do what we do, I think it's about the same, because either people are motivated to get after something or they're not.
And so when you look back though, as far as, did you ever have challenges with, let's just say, credibility with the company? I mean, it was a fairly new company. At that time, it was only, about 5 years old. So, I mean, really looking back, did you ever, come
So
against enemy agents and people that said you guys were going out of business and things like that? Did you ever have any of that?
Well, and we could talk an hour about that, but at the end of the day, it's like when my first week, here's my first week, Daniel, okay? So my first week, we get fined in the state of Kansas like $38,000 or something because somebody somehow got a one wrong paper application that was supposed to go to Ohio, got to Kansas, and we filled out and tried to apply for insurance on the wrong form. And the insurance guy, well, come to find out that insurance commissioner was in bed with the industry. And so they had bought him later. He got fined and kicked out of the state as the insurance commissioner because some insurance companies had bought him a great big Lincoln and was paying him under the table and stuff like that. And they were paying him to do anything to stop us. And so, it's like, that's all we did was the wrong form got into the wrong hands, and they fined us $38,000, but all the news looked like we were, that was my first week.
So you really had to have some belief in the people that got you started to stay in the game, because, most people, if they found out the company got sued or fined or something like that, they would get all nervous and maybe run away. What was it that kept you going, even though that happened?
I really met the founder, Art Williams, and I met some of the key people, and they were so credible with me. They were just regular people that had a mat on, and they knew everything about the industry, with what they were actually trying to do. And we just kept seeing it over and over and over again, And so it just gave us a lot of confidence to just stay after it, because we knew there was a war here. And we all said we didn't know whether we'd be in business next week or next year. But while this is happening, we're going to try to right or wrong until we're dead, And so it all turned out.
So there's a lot of confidence in the people. Why do you think these guys had so much credibility early on? Was it just the relationships that you were starting to build? It was the fact that you got to be a part of something great. What was it in your?
Yeah, Rusty Crossland was one of the original 7 people that founded the company, and we were just friends with him and Larry, and we'd do things where we'd hang out together and we'd explain stuff, and here's how this would. And we were just kind of like real people talking about real things, and we just became great friends first, and then the business just folded in right behind that. So Yeah, I think that was the main thing. Was like they had a lot of personal credibility with me, and that just made more sense. And we just never could figure out why it wasn't the absolute right thing to do. So here we are, 40 years later.
And so when you look back, it was really the relationships, because we talk a lot about that, how important relationships are, and getting to know your people and loving on them and caring about them, and of course pushing, and always kind of having that attitude of, we're going to push you up instead of treat you like an employee. We're going to teach you, treat you like a friend. We're going to treat you like a like a business partner. And I think that looking back, that probably made all the difference for you early on, because you didn't know anything about anything. You were just getting this thing going. And then this first week happens, and next thing you know, you're going, well, why am I still here? It's because of those relationships that were built. And I think a lot of people forget, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you really recruit anybody, really. I mean, you can fill out their paperwork, but you don't actually recruit somebody until, number one, you have a relationship with them, and number two, you have some people underneath them. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that, no question about that. You build that relationship along the way. But man, there's got to be one other thing that I think is really, really important, Daniel, and that is people, are evangelists, for an experience. I'm just telling you that the opportunity for us back then, it was amazing, because the way Art Williams always put it, and that's what I encourage people today, is like, you've got to help them understand they're a part of something big. And that's what Art Williams kept talking to us about, that if we made it, this is going to be a part of something really, really big. And so, it's like that's really, I think, what people need to know, is that you've got to sell them that they're a part of something awesome and big, and we're changing the world. Back then it was us against the insurance industry. Today, it's building the first Amazon of financial services, truly a distribution model that's unparalleled in the whole world, right? And it's like nobody, my son is an analyst for Airbnb. He was employee 241, okay? And so he was in on the ground floor of kind of how that thing went down, And so it's like, if you think about companies like that, and Uber, and the things that people are connected with today, we were a part of one of the original startups, and being a part of that, it was like, I don't know if we're going to make it, but if we do, this is going to be the biggest, baddest thing. And I think we got to be talking about now is like what we see our company as now. It can get so much bigger and so much better if there's so many things that are possible. And it's moving, and it just it's about ready to explode into a new era with all the new technology that we're playing with.
So I think that's interesting that your son was employee number 241. Is that what you said? So yeah, you were number 200 and he was number 241. So how do you coach your son? I mean, how do you relate kind of the things that you went through, and to the things that he's going through right now, or at least went through? Because if he was in the startup of Airbnb, that was a lot of risk, because who knew that thing was going to take off. So how did those conversations, those dad and son conversations go?
So two things. One is that, when he got out of college, he was already working with us part-time, and he has a 65 license, and he does, stuff with us on the side. And, but in terms of, he said, Dad, look, I'm interviewing with this company over the phone, Airbnb. Have you ever heard of them? And I said, who? He said, Airbnb. He said, some kind of a bed and breakfast thing, I think. And so that was our conversation when he was, going to interview for the first time right out of college, right? And so that's how that. Hey, we have 4 very successful children, okay? And so, my son that's with Airbnb, he's got a twin brother, and that brother has taken a company public in Australia. And so it's a technology company. Anyway, so end of the day, so they had that experience, and then both daughters are in where they work remotely. One is in La Jolla, actually California, and works for a digital marketing company out of there. And then the other one is a PM for a big pharmaceutical research company. Okay, what does that have to do? What I'm saying is all of them have had technology driving all kinds of things. And so our conversations have always been, hey, so how does that work? Let's learn about that. How would we adapt that to our business? And then over time, we just started evolving where our technology business, our financial services business, blended in. And so it's like, they're like, yeah, this is the way we do it here. It's so interactive because it's so commonplace. And it was easy for us to understand that was the future. And it's just a matter of how we were going to develop it and when.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.